Welcome, everybody, to Radicalized Truth Survives, where week after week we always have your back. We are on episode 43, and I'm proud to say that I have been filming in my bloomers for 43 episodes, which is awesome. Um, yeah, man. Wow, we have a hell of an episode coming up for you guys. We have Volodymyr Demchenko, a filmmaker and a soldier in the war in Ukraine, and he is brilliant and special. And we cannot wait for you to hear what he has to say, which applies to all of us, and it's really incredibly important, right, guys?
Yeah. I mean, listen, we have Heidi does an amazing job bringing people in, but yeah, Vladimir is a very very special guy, as Heidi said, and has a first person point of view that people need to listen to. This is Ukraine is not some you know fantasy world that we can all play politics with. It's real people,
Yeah,
and brilliant ones, um,
yeah,
that need to be heard in a context that is not a genocidal dictator trying to destroy their home.
right, right. I mean, he's going to talk to you guys about squashing any beefs you might have because life is too short. And we're going to talk about people who try to misshape our realities and how to spot them and what to do. And I hope that this episode will encourage people to start reading and buying a lot of books because the reason this interview was so brilliant was because he reads books. And that is how he knew how to spot the people who are the misshapers of reality. So I'm still just overwhelmed by the beautiful interview coming up. So, okay. And famously, he arrested John Sweeney, war correspondent, from
That's
two
the best
episodes
part.
ago. Famously,
We've never had one guest arrest another guest before.
well, not only that,
That's
That was
that's a
not
new
only
yeah.
that's
that,
new.
that is
And his
new.
story about it is just hysterical.
But not only did he arrest Sweeney, Sweeney's dumbass, as he says, but he arrested him for being a Russian spy. And they have become quite good friends, which you will also see in a video clip tribute that we're going to show.
I mean, his version of the story is really quite compelling in the
Yeah,
sense that it's like one day after Russia suddenly attacks Ukraine, and here's this guy over here, beaming anti-aircraft equipment from a specific location. The guy's like, excuse me, the fuck do you think you're doing? And from
yeah,
that point of view,
All right. Let him tell the story. Let him
quite
tell the
fair.
story.
yeah. That's so good.
I
It's so good. Yeah,
just a little preview.
a little tease, just a little tease. All right, gentlemen, I am very excited about this show and the work that we do, and we're going to jump into front loaded right now.
Front loaded.
Once again, the brilliant video and music work of Sean Connor. So I just wanted to say I made good on my promise last week, and I pulled an all-nighter, not an all-nighter. We were wrapped by 4:30 a.m., and you will read about Oleg Deripaska in Byline Times. Why it's important is that Byline Times, since it is reader funded, is beholden to no one, so we can write the truth as the truth should be written. And we're able to talk about Deripaska and talk about his history and his role in Russian interference. And I'm very grateful that these indictments are happening. As you know, Malafiev was also indicted. A bounty was put on Semyon Mogilievich's head. The kleptocratic task force is not playing. And one thing that I don't think made its way into the article, but I think it's very important to note, is that this gentleman was born in the most polluted city in the world. and why the city that he was born in still continues to top the list of most polluted cities is because it was a munitions town in Russia. And so I think it's always very interesting to kind of learn the backstory about some of these folks. And another thing that didn't make its way into the story, which is important, I think, and the gentlemen know about it, is the time that Putin shamed him on video. So these guys are just, they're worth knowing about because they are part of the misshapers of reality.
Agreed.
All right.
It is good to see him indicted.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Fuck.
Jim just had a boomer moment.
I boomered myself.
Damn it, Jim.
Never mind. It was a dad joke anyway. And then
let's hear it.
I boomered. Nope, no way. Not at this point.
It's too late now. Moving on.
You're gonna tease us like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll let the trolls do lip reading and see if they can figure it out.
Memories of the untold dad joke. All right.
Oh my God. Speaking of dad jokes, here's something that's not funny. The next item on my list is I would like very much to direct people to read Putin's speech in English and learn about projection. So that is what I'd like you to do. Edward Lucas right here. Was that our rundown? That was a nice little glimpse.
I shared the wrong window. My bad.
That's all right. Nice little glimpse of our rundown. So I think it's very important to take a look at Edward Lucas's tweet right there. And I just want everybody to be able to read the speech verbatim in English. I know Jim will probably talk a little bit about it more, presumably in Hellscape, or certainly touch on it. But it's important to know what we're fighting. It's important to know about the misshapers of reality. And when I read it, I stopped midway through. And the first thing I thought is that this man has been mutilating minds for decades now. And he's going to talk about, he's going to put a narrative out there harming the most delicate people in our culture. Thanks to the beautiful poetry of my daughter, I am close with many trans kids. And I just want to say, fuck you, Putin. I look forward to the day that we shoot you into space. You are a mutilator of minds, and you are so jealous of all our freedoms here. And we'll move on right now. Let's go to yes, Jim.
No, I probably shouldn't get started. I mean, listen, that was it's fucking QAnon, Dugan, Flynn. It's all the same now, right? Putin, Dugan,
it's
Flynn.
pretty much identical.
QAnon, that shit has merged, right? It's now the globalist New World Order and the Satanists against the good white Christian people. That's it. The lines have been drawn here, and Putin and a bunch of fucking people in the United States are on the same team. And I will indeed be talking about that.
Yeah. I look forward to all of them being exposed, and I do. I'm looking forward to a future where these people have no bullhorns and power anymore. Deutsche Bank update. By tomorrow, I'm going to have a update for you because I blew in a call to Marty, but I think it's very important that we keep our eye on Deutsche Bank. We're going to talk a little bit about it in Sean's brief legal briefs, but I just want to point out a couple little previews. Every time Deutsche Bank transfers money from its Moscow offices for some of Putin's Petersburg besties to Cyprus or the British Virgin Islands or the Seychelles, every single time they charge fees for these transactions. Those fees generate profits. They keep shareholders happy, which keeps the board of directors happy, the CEO, everybody happy. And of course, banks like that are leading to the decline of Western civilization as we know it. And again, I'll have a Deutsche Bank update in brief legal briefs momentarily. and moving along. This is something very important. Yes, Jim, you want to? No, okay. So here's the next thing. I had the wonderful experience Friday morning of participating in a historic meeting of the minds where Ruth Ben-Ghiat interviewed Jason Stanley. And as you guys know, I get to work security at those meetings, and it's beautiful because they're not recorded. It's like a great party. You had to be there. We share intel from all over the world. But Jason Stanley drew our attention to Moore versus Harper. I'm drawing your attention to it as well, because that is when the Supreme Court will decide whether the North Carolina Supreme Court has the power to strike down the legislature's illegally gerrymandered congressional map for violating North Carolina's Constitution. What the bigger picture here is about state rights, known as the independent state legislator theory. And Jim, can you give them the sort of, major takeaway of why this is so important to pay attention to?
Yeah, it basically provides every state new tools to, more or less create versions of secession, right? Where they get to decide how they actually elect their electors. Meaning it could be any fucking thing they want. They can start running elections like they are in Ukraine right now, and fucking Kherson, right? Those kind of elections. That's what they're trying to enable, right? By transferring all of this power back to the states, and it's incredibly dangerous. It basically takes us back to the 1800s, it's a real danger. We've got 6 cult members and 5 of them who are nihilistic and don't give a shit at all.
Yeah, it's a problem
I
because
would like to say that the individual named David Pepper has a very good grasp of states as laboratories of authorities.
Yes.
Authoritarianism.
Yeah.
But one need merely look at Ohio and the fact that our state government has completely ignored Supreme Court rulings with regards to gerrymandered maps to understand that this is what's coming for the whole nation. You're going to be divvied up in such a way that you'll never be democratic again.
Yeah, and we have to be prepared for that. We have a fight on our hands, and we'll know more November 9th, but it's going to be a fight. As we know, Trump normalized lots of things like challenging election outcomes. And you know why? Because his election of 2016 was a Russian military attack on our country. The attack is ongoing, and those justices that Jim just referenced, are appointed by an inauthentic president. So, we're just gonna keep saying that.
And they don't, and they it's not the Constitution they're following. It's their extremist ideologies.
It's a really good point.
Amy Coney Barrett literally is in a cult, People of Praise, where the word of God comes from 5 white guys that run this cult. And those 5 white guys don't give a shit about the Constitution. And those are the people that she listens to, not us.
Yeah.
She needs to go. Along with Clarence Thomas, who's been brain fucked for 30 years.
Yeah. So what I like to do with Front Loaded is always try to find something beautiful to end on. And
we better come up with something new then. You better. I'll shut up now.
I got this. Anytime anybody calls me last minute and says, hey, you want to be my +1 to theater, musicals, ballets, the Philharmonic, whatever, I'm like, yo, I'm there. Knowing absolutely nothing about the modern musical Oklahoma, I went. And oh my God, I'm still processing it. I will continue to be processing it. The the film is a real, you know, it, it it looks at the subtext of America's past and present. And as I wrote, I'll be processing it for days and weeks. But there is an actress, a trans woman named Sis, who plays a major role and a star. She's a star. Oh my gosh. She plays the character played by Gloria Graham in the original, and she is phenomenal. Not only can sing and act and all of that, but just the strength of that performance was really beautiful. But talk about a trigger warning. If you know nothing about this musical, if you have not seen it on Broadway, just know that it ends in a way that is going to linger with me forever. It is an indictment on dysfunctions in America that we must address, and that's all I want to say about that. All right, so enough of my musical geek moments. Let's go to word phrase of the week and talk about the disinformation poisoning our brains.
All right. This one comes courtesy of President Jackie Singh, right?
Yes, it does.
Accusation in a mirror. And this is a hate speech incitement technique. And basically what you do with this, you can read it here, but you're saying you're doing exactly what I'm doing. So when Marjorie Taylor Greene talks about how Democrats have already started killing Republicans, well, I think we can just point to all the mass shootings in America as to what's really going on. This is a standard technique. Putin's going to annex, which is bullshit, certain parts of the Ukraine and say, oh no, now you're attacking Russia. Well, it was never Russia to begin with, bud, except it's accusation in America.
I think it's important.
Yes. Yeah. Also known as projection.
Yes.
Right. And as we've seen, a great deal of the propaganda out there is projection, and that's a frightening thing, especially because the projection of this cult is about murdering lots and lots of Democrats, right? Like only in defense, because the Democrats are coming for you QAnon people, right? Like that's the entire fiction that's been set up here. It's really, really fucking dangerous, because most of the stuff that they've been projecting already happened. Right? They did it. And it's important to understand that we're facing a serious threat, and you actually can see the future if you just watch what they accuse everybody else of doing. Because almost every single time, it's just it's a cover story for something that they're about to do. So one thing that one just simple phrase there, when you have a real conspiracy, the best way to cover it up is a fake one.
Which we have proven
go back in history
time and time again. Yep.
That's how you do it. It's also, and this is just last thing, Patrick Byrne is interviewed in the awesome Vice documentary about the search for Q, and he talks about twinning. And that's a lot of it's a lot of the same idea. It's basically you set up an operation that's almost a fake operation that's almost exactly like the real one that you're doing, and everybody's looking over here, and then it proves it's fake while the actual one is really happening. That it really is a thing that not only nation states, but increasingly politicians and activist groups that are really there to traumatize and attack people in order to shift the narrative. TED Talk 1. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very distressing, and we've shown it over and over and over again on this show that is a technique that's been used to winning effect. And again, I'm very grateful to interview somebody who grew up knowing how to read the signposts on that shit. Very, very important that we harden ourselves against this stuff and see it and call it out, as soon as possible, in order to help, steer people toward the direction of truth, because these are psychological operations in wartime. And it's very important when you mention somebody like Patrick Byrne that it's, ex lover of Russian spy Patrick Byrne. And we remember who these people are and what their affiliations are and why they might lie to you. All right. White matters.
I'm going to mess around a little bit. First, we're going to do brief legal briefs.
Brief legal briefs.
Oh my God. Nobody can be in a surly mood when we see Sean Connor's favorite pair of green underwear in animated form.
Yeah. Anyway.
Except Jim. So there we go.
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
So I want to go first because I'm like, I'm angry. The sea was angry that day, my friends. So Deutsche Bank had another settlement. And as you guys know, I believe that we are going to settlement our way in, out of a democracy. Why this is important, as you see, another day, another mob settlement. And I mean that. Deutsche Bank settles for a measly $26 million over Jeffrey Epstein Russian oligarch ties. Why that's important is if you scroll down a little bit further, you will see that there were people within who were flagging this stuff as, hey, is this part of the transnational mob? Is this, something more to be concerned about? And really, what it is that we were just talking about it with Marty. It's like the executives overruled their own, employees who were acting as whistleblowers, doing the right thing because it's just written into the calculation. They're just going to probably have to spend a little bit of coin,
$26 million is a rounding error on a rounding error.
Yeah.
For Deutsche Bank.
Right.
What do you mean? What do you mean that takes care of your ties with Russian oligarchs and Jeffrey Epstein? Excuse me?
Right.
No. Nope.
Right.
No. So I need to look into those details a little bit.
So let me tell you, because I've been following these gangsters for a long time, these gangster gankers. They basically, I know, I love portmanteaus. That's portmanteaus. That's one of mine. But they had to pay $600 million one time for laundering $10 billion of the Russian mob's money. So this is nothing new. But I want to say,
how much money did they get? How much did they get for laundering it? Was it more than 6%? If it was more than 6%, then it was a good deal, right?
Of course, yeah. So the suit claims on this one, the suit claims that the bank executives routinely overruled compliance staff to continue working with risky, rich clientele, including Russian oligarchs and people involved with drug cartels. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been saying that. But can I just throw a little network in? Here's a little network for you. Former CEO of Deutsche Bank goes to work at the Bank of Cyprus with Wilbur Ross, who becomes our Secretary of Commerce, who screws up the census, which all our federal maps and shit are drawn on.
Welcome to our fight.
If you don't see, there's a network. Yeah.
I mean, does anybody remember how much Cyprus came up in the Mueller report, and how often that's been used as a money laundering. The fact that our Wilbur Ross are in our cabinet.
Yeah.
Was running that. I mean, just that little tiny tidbit. Just that. But wow, that's nothing. We got Eric Prince's sister running fucking Department of Education. And all she wants to do is fucking destroy it, right? Like, it's just the fact we lived through that is amazing.
All right. Hi-fi history time. The Russian gangster who filed a fraudulent DMCA against me that got me kicked off of Twitter, Sergei Grishin, has a business in Cyprus called Red Alliances. Not only that, but the wife of his business partner, a woman named Roni Eshel, has a business in Cyprus also. Called GoFlow. And that's not a conduit for who knows what. I don't know, man.
Yeah. So
we gotta just shut this shit. Shut all
we gotta. This show's gonna shut it down.
There's a goddamn there is a literal and hat tip Sarah Kendzior transnational criminal conspiracy happening under our noses. It's the fucking mafia, right? It's just the mafia writ large. And you got one mafia lieutenant over there in Russia. You got, other ones sitting around the world. But we know who they are. They're right there. Go fucking arrest them. Merrick, go roll that shit up.
So three Cyprus footnotes from Heidi. One goes to Wilbur Ross. My favorite anecdote about Wilbur Ross is that he steals sugar packets when he eats lunches, which I think is hilarious for a billionaire, quite frankly. I actually pony up for Italian sugar cubes, the brown ones for my coffee. Which
it's just cheap. A mental illness, right?
Well, but it's funny.
He needs to get treated for that.
Stop. Wilbur Ross sold his DC mansion to Peter Thiel.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Stop it.
Gangsta. Two more Heidi Cyprus footnotes.
Oh, yeah.
No wonder he got the cabinet position. I bet you that was a great deal. I bet you it was a great deal.
Read my Mind Geek thread where all roads lead to Cyprus, because I show all the roads leading to Cyprus. But my favorite Cyprus moment ties back to my front-loaded piece on Oleg Deripaska. Cyprus has stripped his citizenship. He got a citizenship from Cyprus, and four total Russian billionaires got their passports pulled. So they've fallen under the bloc sanctions over Moscow's war against Ukraine. We call it war because it is a war. Putin can call it whatever the hell he wants. But I just do think it's kind of funny that I'm sure, Deripaska was looking for his exit strategy as he was having his, girlfriend have children in America so they could have citizenship. He looked towards Cyprus, and Cyprus said, nah. So there you go. He'll be stuck in Russia for a while.
Hi-Fi and I were talking about the what the oligarch spice cabinet might look like, and I decided that he would be oregano.
And on that happy note, let's just move right along.
Please do. Please, quick.
Why does it matter? Why high fidelity?
First story of this week, Oracle of Filth. That's right. Our favorite technology company, not Oracle, has for the second time violated the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. And here's the best part. Who did they violate it with? None other than Turkey and the UAE.
Oh.
Yeah, buddy. So why does this matter? Well, There's all sorts of reasons, but let's talk. Let's start with Ezra Cohen Watnick, shall we, Jim?
Okay, Turkey, the UAE, and Israel, right? Because Ezra Cohen Watnick, first of all, when he got fired by McMaster and wanted to go help start QAnon with Mike Flynn, he got parked at Oracle. So for 6 months, he was at Oracle. And then after the insurrection, he got hired as VP of sales for Israel. Right? Now, remember, so Israel's like the United States. Amazing people. Democratic state, wonderful, everything, except there's a bunch of fascists there, just like there are in the United States, right? And Netanyahu and his whole gang, there's some very dark elements of Mossad, Unit 8200. These are real things. This is not conspiracy shit whatsoever. And it's all connected with this same group. Speaking of UAE and Turkey, what do we know about these places? Eric Prince lives in UAE. That's where, MBZ does all his dirty work, right? So none of these things are a coincidence. This is just the same group of vipers that have been working together for a very long
I would
time.
like our viewers to notice that Erdogan grabbed and stayed in power by playing the double reverse and throwing a coup against himself that he then disrupted and said, "Oh, look, the deep state's out to get me. I'm going to stay president."
When did he do that?
Oh, I forget what year. I just remember
2016.
2016,
right before the fucking election, right? There was a fake coup. There was a fake coup, and Dugin was down in there talking to Erdogan in 2016. Who else was talking to Turkey? Mike Flynn, Dugin. I mean, that whole thing is just blatant treason. Just literal psychological, financial, political warfare against the United States of America from foreign nation states using American traders.
Oh, hey.
This is a theme you may have noticed.
You know what else is a theme? We were talking about Israeli spyware and Unit 8200. Guess what? Our next story. Spyware for savages.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Viktor Orban. He's an authoritarian.
Yeah.
And Israel is selling him social media tracking software. Are you sensing a theme yet, people? NSO Group says what? Why does this matter? Look, Israel and their Ministry of Defense can say whatever they want. Oh, no, this is fine. And okay, that's great. But if I were someone in the State Department who had the power, I would go to Israel and say, that's cool. Sell your software. But for every dollar you make from that software, we're going to keep $100 of funding from you because we are democratic and we believe in democracy.
So speaking of OSY NSO Group, who consulted with them in 2016, speaking of which, Mike fucking Flynn did, and helped with the Pegasus software that ended up getting Khashoggi. And also, who else has been in the news that was connected to OSY and NSO Group? Oleg fucking Deripaska.
My goodness.
Oleg Deripaska, who, as we found out and had tip Scott Stedman, Oleg Deripaska hired Psy Group. Psy Group was an Israeli firm, the private intelligence firm that specialized in setting up fake social media influence accounts in 2016 and did a bunch of them. So not only did George Nader and Mike Flynn and Eric Prince and all those asshats give millions of dollars to Side Group, so did Oleg Deripaska. So, and again, a lot of that same influence shit that was set up then, still going right now. Right now, some of the same Twitter accounts.
Indeed.
Some of you guys might know them.
Speaking of private intelligence groups, let's talk about private intel, specifically Palantir, because I have a question.
Oh God.
Here's a question, and I have the answer too. The question is, when will the CIA stop giving Peter Thiel money? And the answer to that is
Very
never.
good question.
Because Peter Thiel again pulls the wool, and In-Q-Tel just gave Peter Thiel a bunch of money to. I can't really. I mean, I understand the technology is kind of cool. I mean, genetic cloning is pretty sweet. I mean, you could do some cool stuff with that, but I sure as hell wouldn't trust that guy with it.
It would be preferable if it wasn't involving somebody who literally thinks that, democracy and freedom is incompatible, or,
let's be really clear. What's going on here is eugenics shit. These guys literally are trying to set up the master race. This is fucking Chuck Johnson and Peter Thiel and Jeff Epstein. Sorry for trigger warning, but all of that shit, all this transhumanist fucking stuff that they accuse the left of, speaking of projection, that's what they're actually doing.
Yeah.
Right? Chuck Johnson's running around buying up DNA companies for Peter Thiel. And it's not for any beneficial medical purpose. I promise you, he's not trying to bring back the fucking dinosaurs. He's trying to create a master race.
Hey,
and I'm not even kidding at all.
I know, Jim.
Didn't J.D. Vance work at a biogenetic sciences in Silicon Valley?
And look at all the weird stuff that Robert Mercer has financed. Remember the urine guy? Like, it's just, yeah. So
It's fucking it's all terrible shit. And
yes, it is.
Going back to this story, In-Q-Tel, I'm sorry. Why the fuck do we have this rogue ass weird little thing that happens to be investing in some of the most harmful shit that ever existed on Earth? Like Palantir is one of the worst things that's happening on the planet, and that sounds like an exaggeration. It's not. It's Cambridge Analytica, except infesting not only the entire U.S. government, every three-letter agency uses Palantir shit, but all over the world, other governments, and there's no restriction on Peter Thiel selling that same shit to guess who? To the other side. And why is that? Because Peter Thiel makes money when they fucking fight. So he gives both sides the tools to fight each other better. And we, dear viewer, are stuck in the fucking middle. And it's enough. And our government needs to figure it out. I don't give a shit if he's too big to fail. He needs to be defeated.
Right.
Well, just take all the shit.
Talk to. TED Talks.
TED Talk 2.
Talking to.
TED Talk 2.
You guys may notice I'm a bit on edge today, and I don't give a shit.
No fucks allowed.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You know what? Since Jim's in the mood, let's do Hellscape.
Jim Stewartson's Hellscape. Oh, fuck.
There's a storm, right? There was a storm on Wednesday, a big one, about as big as it gets, right? One of these 1,000-year storms that fucking happens every year.
Mm-hmm.
And guess where it landed? It literally like hit Englewood square on, which is where the worst traitor in American history, Mike Flynn, lives, right? And so that was on Wednesday. And the previous week or two before, he and his whole family had just like infiltrated the entire fucking Sarasota County government. And we're bragging about it on Steve Bannon's show, how Sarasota County's mega now, right? We've taken over. So what the fuck happens after this hurricane hits? What does America's general do? Disappears. Whoop. Nothing. Not a fucking word to his fellow Floridians. Not a word to anyone. Just fucking disappears. Now, who fucking cares, right? Well, it matters because a huge part of our population, whether they know it or not, is following this guy, believes that he's a patriot. And when his own town, his own county gets destroyed, 67 people last I checked died, and more coming. What does America's general do? He sends a message to his digital soldiers through Jim Watkins, who owns 8chan, about how everybody should double down on being a digital soldier. And he sends that message while the storm is destroying where he lives in America. That's his last message, and then he fucking disappears. Now, I don't know where he is. I don't know what he's doing. I hope he just fucking took off and is setting up shop in Moscow and just takes the goddamn blinders, everyone's blinders off once and for all. But in the meantime, the reason why I'm in a particular mood, and this is a little bit of kind of timing that you need to know about our show. Sometimes we record our guests before we record the rest, and in this case, that's true. And we spoke to a brilliant man, a empathetic human being who cares about others, who happens to have arrested one of our other guests, right? And he talked about how in 2013, December 1st, 2013, he almost died. He got hit in the head by a flash grenade that just didn't go off. And that was a few months after Mike Flynn visited GRU headquarters. And our guest was protesting Yanukovych, who was the dictator, who was the guy that was installed by Manafort a long time ago. It struck me that what was going on in Russia, in Ukraine, the crackdowns, the anger, the propaganda that was getting pushed into that country, it's because he got a green light. He got a green light from America that it was okay for him to do that. that it was okay for him to create chaos in Ukraine, and that it was okay for him to send Spetsnaz troops into Crimea to take it over illegally. So I just want to review real quick a certain series of events, and then I will shut up. Mike Flynn in 2012 gets nominated to be head of DIA by Obama. He is extremely problematic, has Flynn facts, and everyone says, oh, he was crazy. No, he's not crazy. That's called gaslighting. It's called gaslighting. It is the basic tool of propagandists and sociopaths. It just is. It's what you do, is you say false shit until somebody is forced to either believe it or submit to it. And that's what he's done his entire life. He has been a bully since he was this fucking tiny. And so in June 2013, the following series of events took place all in the same month. Mike Flynn was the first American to go to GRU headquarters and gave a collegial speech to his colleagues in the GRU. In June 2013, at the same time, a fella who was a contractor at the NSA, nothing to do with DIA, starts stealing secrets, not only from the NSA, but somehow, at the same time Mike Flynn is at the GRU headquarters, Edward Snowden manages to get into top secret DIA servers and steal gigabytes of highly, highly important American military intelligence secrets and nuclear secrets. Then a young reporter named Michael Hastings, who had done brilliant work exposing Mike Flynn's boss in Afghanistan, General McChrystal, Stanley McChrystal, dies in a mysterious one-car accident after talking to Joe Biggs, who just got indicted for seditious conspiracy for planning the insurrection. So the reason I bring all of this up, right, is not to rehash this old shit. It's to say we have to do better. America has to do better. The same people have been doing the same thing for a decade, at least. Mike Flynn has been committing treason in plain sight for a decade, at least. And we cannot do anything about it. Not only can we not do anything about it, as Hi-Fi said, we're giving money to his ally, Peter Thiel, who wants to destroy democracy. He really does. He hates democracy more than anything else. It's no longer just a freedom and democracy are no longer compatible. It's a war on liberalism. It's a war on empathy. It's a war on equality. Why do you think he's buying DNA companies? It's not to make people more fucking equal. It's to mold them into whatever the fuck these guys want. And this isn't a conspiracy. This is the way these guys think. Look at what they do. Look what they project and what they do. So forgive me. Last note, and I'm not going to go into details yet about this, but the other reason I'm angry is because somebody sent me an email this morning. I hadn't even told my co-host this. A police officer, a large force, who's fucking terrified because everyone around him, most of the cops around him are literally QAnon members. Like straight up QAnon, like all the way in the cult, right? And here's the problem. He can't complain about them because his supervisor is QAnon. And guess what? The next guy up. So I am trying to keep myself in control in order to not embarrass myself for the show. But this is fucking war, and you're about to hear somebody who's fucking there. Where the kinetic war, the kinetic part of the same war is happening right now. So don't listen to me. Don't listen to Hi-Fi or Heidi. Listen to him. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
It's worth noting that the reporter that Jim referenced, Michael Hastings, died in a fiery car crash, which was
A one-car mysterious fiery car crash after talking to Joe Biggs.
It's also worth noting that I'm seeing what you're saying about the state of members of local law enforcement's minds. So it's hitting close to home. And
the thing is, it's all the same, right?
Yeah.
Like what does the fucking Flynn going to GRU headquarters have to do with any of this?
Yeah.
That's why this is happening, is because he went there and he made friends and learned a lot.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jim. I know that judging by the real people that we have real interaction with, that this work is making a real difference. So thank you.
Yeah. And thank you to our guest, and thank you to the person that had the guts to email me. I'll be talking more about that.
Yeah, I think it's important, and I hope that maybe we could even, if they're willing to, in silhouette, voice altered, no ID, perhaps tell their story. So I'm very grateful that that person found you. Okay, so we've been doing our best with this little show to bring you the very important breaking news and the truth out of the war in Ukraine, and not the misshapen reality that somehow makes its way into print continuously. And we have a real warrior and filmmaker who, as we've all been talking about, has a very beautiful soul, and he's going to share his view of the world with us. His name is Volodymyr Demchenko, and this is going to be awesome. And before we bring him in, I'd like to show a clip of him showing John Sweeney the new car that he will be driving the next time John Sweeney is in Ukraine.
Hello, John. Greetings from Izum. You know what happened? Me and Chris, we find a new car for us to ride next time when you will come here.
Good sound system.
Now we have a nice vehicle just to go around. So and we're waiting for you and for your festival here. We have something fancy.
Oh, Volodymyr Demchenko, we are so happy that you are with us. Just so our viewers know, just a reminder, he is currently a soldier in this horrible war of annihilation. He is also a filmmaker, so he is able to document what he is seeing. And what he is seeing, obviously, is some kind of hell. And we'd love just to hear from you on just, where you are and what your last few days have been like.
Right now, I'm actually in very safe spot. I am at our new training camp. I just arrived here today, but 2 days ago, I've been in Bakhmut, and in this area, I spent there last 2 months. And why Bakhmut is famous? Bakhmut is only one place on the front line where Russian troops are still trying to attack, still trying to advance Ukrainian forces. All around the front line is Ukraine who have initiative, and Bakhmut is only one Ukrainian town which is under attack, and there is still possibility that we can lose this town. It's a big, like 100,000 people town. You can understand what's going on there. It's total apocalypse for real. It's look strange, not in a good way, strange. And I spent there 2 months. Now I will have 1 month for a training camp, and I will come back. I don't know if it will be a Bakhmut or any kind of other directions, but I'm ready. So I'm fine, thank you. Now I'm at safe spot.
We're very, very happy to hear that. And we have, we're going to show our viewers a picture of you from, I believe it's 2014. And it looks like you took a grenade to your head. And can you tell our viewers what happened in that moment?
It happened on the 1st of December 2013, when a huge mass protest against President Yanukovych started. Not actually so much about Yanukovych, but about his police who cruelly beat students who went out for a protest. And at some moment of those clashes, I just saw how something flying in the air and just land on the top of my head. I don't realize at first what it was, and I feel it was behind on my hood. And I started jumping, trying to get rid of this. I turned around and I saw a grenade, this flash grenade that didn't explode somehow. And in the next moment, I realized, I turn around and I see thousands of people who are running into my direction. And after that, I saw I'm bleeding, like completely bleeding. Some strangers bring me to a medicine car where those picture was taken. Actually, it's not a picture, it's a video from a Russian propaganda channel, Russia Today. Wow. It was a video of me standing there.
Wow.
And at the moment I realized that I'm surrounded with thousands of injured people with broken legs, broken arms, and a doctor I don't know the right word in English, but
bandaging you up.
So on the 1st of December, you can Google it, like 1st December Kyiv police, and you will see awful videos of police running through the small street and just beating, shit out of anybody. And it's exactly those moments when that happens. But luckily, at those time, doctor who was put bandage on me, he protect me actually with his body. He was screaming, "There is medicine working here. Please don't beat us, don't beat us." And this is how I survived even more injured. And I just ran away from there. I realized that I can't stay there because police was everywhere. And I know those streets pretty well. And I just ran away with like blood over my head, and it was pretty tough. But luckily it was the last injury I have for the last 8 years. Maybe I took all my luck for all 8 years, because the first day I was injured, and after that 8 years, thank God.
Wow.
Can I just remind our viewers, and thank you for that, that Yanukovych is the guy that was put in power by Paul Manafort's and Putin in order to undermine the democracy of Ukraine. And recall within the next couple of months from that event, and please, you were there, not me, but this is my understanding, that's when the little green men went into Crimea and basically took it over without any word from the United States, right? And again, just for our viewers in context, that was when Mike Flynn, who is a traitor and a Putin ally, was head of the Defense Intelligence Agency and allowed that to happen. So there is a lot of fault on our side for allowing this to happen. And thank you for telling your story. And I just wanted to bring it back around to the fascists in America that are enabling this. Paul Manafort, of course, ran Donald Trump's presidential
for
campaign.
free for an oligarch who just got indicted to make it whole with Oleg Deripaska. Just so you know, we are a show on disinformation. We investigate disinformation and propaganda, and this all ties together. And we're looking very forward to talking to you about the disinformation and propaganda aspect of this. But before we do, are you the soldier who arrested John Sweeney for being a Russian spy?
But you know, he was doing stupid things, like really, not smart.
Oh, you could say yes. Just say yes. It's fine. We're friends.
And, you know,
What was Sweeney doing?
I will arrest him again. I will arrest him again. It's the second day of war, like a city in total collapse. There is the Russians literally 10 minutes away from city center. And there is a guy just standing next to our anti-aircraft gun and filming himself like, hello, there is Ukrainian anti-aircraft gun right here, you see, in the bushes. And I was telling him like, hey man, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm a journalist. I said, I want to see that video now. He said, you're not able to do it. You're not policeman. And after that, my last argument was like, man, I'm a guy with a gun. Just give me.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
I absolutely love.
Next second, I tell him, John, I already watched his name. I said, look, it will be a great story for you. Just a great story. And next day he came back to my position like, hey, I have million views.
He is the reason that I wanted to interview you so badly, and why I have been like, you know, trying to message you every day, because as soon as I heard him talk about you, and then he talked about you so lovingly because he's become a friend of yours. And I think that one of the crazy things about war, and you wrote about this, is that war is hell. And it also reminds you to be alive. And thanks to you, when we're done with this, I'm going to call my mother, because you also said, you know, you should apologize when things aren't even your fault and life is too short to hold grudges. And can you speak on the aspects of war that reminds you to live your life?
Oof, you know, it's very strange, and probably for people who never been at war and saw it like as a picture, it will sound like, what's this guy is talking about? But about things that going on, and this is somehow became a thing, because you know you're not often speaking about such kind of things in your family. Right. Like, for example, I still have my grandparents alive, and they old. And I saw like earlier, they became like, they fluently can talk about death. And my parents and other relatives, they just like avoiding this topic. And I stopped to doing this. And we have a great conversation with my grandfather. And I asked him, do you afraid to die? And he was like, actually, no, I have a very good life. You know, only I thinking about God more, because we live in communistic country and they teach us there is no God. Now I'm thinking if there is some, and it was easy conversation. Yeah. And I feel huge relief, and that my grandpa have a huge relief that he able to talk to somebody about these things. And this is what I get from war as well. If you have something to say to your loved one, just do it like now.
I know.
Now. It's like, it's so easy to say like, hey, hello, special, don't be worried, just like, you're cool. I'm glad to have you in my life, like for real glad. You make my life easier. You make my life more interesting. And you hearing how people, even like guys, can cry on the other side of the phone because they know it. But when you say it, actually, you make everything more full of life. And why not? It's like easy.
Thank
easy.
you for that.
And you don't need to wait for some extraordinary reason like to do that. Not a special dinner, not a special moment, like now. Now. Just do it.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. That's profoundly beautiful. You're looking at 3 damaged people because we are in a different type of war. We've been in a psychological war, and we have been on the front lines of that psychological war. And we have a very noisy mob attacking us all the time for the work we do. And it has taken a fucking toll on me. And I'm not right. I know that. And so what you just said is very important.
I just wanted to say that what you're saying is mirrored by the people that I respect the most, who are trying to figure out ways to heal what's happening in the world, right? To heal these divisions that have been created between people. Now, divisions in Ukraine and Russia are very clear. But there are also lots of other divisions being created, right? Between races, between men and women, between all kinds of people, and that's intentional. And the best advice that I've heard is exactly what you're saying. Just keep connected to the people that you love. Don't argue with them about politics. Don't argue with them about the things that you can't control, right? Just be there for them and keep the connection. That is the best way that you can resist what is an intentional attempt at breaking down society and breaking down love in the world. So just wanted to say thank you for what you said, because you're not the only one, but I think you've said it as well as anyone I've heard. So thank you.
Yeah, what I would like to remind the world is that people like you are basically the front lines of whether or not we continue to have democracy in this world or not. And I'm very aware of that and very grateful to you and the people in your country. We've been reporting as much as we can from Ukraine, and we have friends reporting bringing us the news. And can you please tell people about the spirit of the people that you fight with and tell them what you are fighting against?
About spirit. Just 3 days ago, I worked with a journalist from Stern, Joachim, and he was talking about how it's possible that Ukraine are able to fight Russia. He wasn't so confident about it. I said, like, look, the spirit, man. About the spirit, it's a good news. Ukrainian spirit is really, really high. Even so, we have our losses. Sometimes in Twitter, people wrote me like, but you also have a huge losses. News, like, we don't people till like almost death. And we realized if we wouldn't do something, they will do it tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, and we will be at some moment in Moscow or Minsk in one company. I mean, so for real, when you hearing that Ukraine fight for democracy, it's not just the words from news that you used to hear. No, here in Ukraine, We regained our government 30 years ago, and we don't know how to build government successfully. I was kid, and we just USSR collapse, and all those people who've been in power stay in power, steal all plants, factories, all property for government. And now Ukrainian society studying how to build a normal modern society by itself.
Yeah.
And I'm super happy that this war gives us a possibility to show that we're here in the world, because Russia totally hide us behind their propaganda lies, telling that we are same with Russians. We are one. We just was not able to talk to the world to explain that we're here and we're very, very different from them. And you see only one reason, only one way to show to the world that we actually have our own opinion about our future.
Yeah.
It was to die for that. And when so that there is Ukrainian who will stop tanks literally with hands, because they don't have weapons. And you know what? Even if tomorrow Western weapon wouldn't come to Ukraine, we wouldn't stop fighting. This is a thing that world saw, and that's why world supporting us. They see we are fighting not for land, not for killing more Russians. We're fighting for our future. We want to be in this future together with people of the world. We want to be in a world where we try to solve our problems together, because problems that we're facing in the modern world can be solved only if we will work all together. And there is powers that think that they are better because they just much powerful, have much more weapon, and they have their ideas about world politics, and they playing games without asking people, do they really want to play this game? Nobody asked people in Kherson, in the Zaporizhia region, do they want to be a part of Russia? In reality, they all left. They are gone. They make this referendum in empty villages.
Yeah.
So it's games where they don't ask individual person like, what you think your future should look like. And really, I'm proud to live in a country where every day the situation with human rights are better. Yeah, we're very behind the world. And again, like when somebody telling me that, I say like, yes, of course, man. We're existing only 30 years. We're figuring out like by ourselves how it was. But in Ukraine, there is a dialogue about that happens. For example, like Zelensky just recently said that after the war, he will push forward a law about game uses, because like how you can be. And still,
can you repeat what Zelensky's going to push for? We missed it.
Yeah,
gay marriage?
I said, yeah, just recently Zelensky said, because there was a petition in Ukraine asking Zelensky to approve gay marriages in Ukraine. And you know, it's still it's still hard topic for Ukrainians, because we have people who grow and live their life in USSR when they wasn't able to talk about that. They pretend it doesn't exist. And when people telling me there is a problems with human rights in Ukraine, yes, it is.
That's an outgrowth of the oppression and Soviet era propaganda, which I do want to talk to Volodymyr about.
This is what they see.
Yes. Yes.
I really believe Ukraine is fighting for possibility to be with a world in one team. Just we don't want to live like our separate, special, super extra nationalistic or race life. We're not crazy nationalists here. We just want to have our future, and we want to be connected to a modern world. That's all. That's very simple.
And that's what they here they call globalists. They think that it's a bad idea, right? To live in a world that accepts one another and doesn't think that, you know, our own country is better than others. And I just wanted to mention about those sham, fake, completely bullshit referendums. You know, sadly, the same people on the right wing here have been pushing those as if to say, you know, hey, look, Russia has declared these to be Russia's now, so we better not attack anymore.
And look
And
what's
so
happened.
our show is here to combat that in America, to say, no, 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 guys, that's nonsense. And we're so grateful to have somebody there saying, no, there's nobody left.
Yeah.
There's nobody left in those places that 93% said they want to go to Russia.
Yeah.
That's
It's a
bullshit.
lie.
And it's
Yeah.
really important to hear directly from the source. So thank you again for that.
And again, just look what happened yesterday. Putin claimed, for example, city Liman to be a Russian territory. Yesterday, it became Ukraine again.
Yeah.
Wow, they
So-
were retreating while he was claiming it at the same time.
So Volodymyr, that's what where I wanted to go next. Growing up with propaganda and RT and all of that, one of the things I really appreciate about reporting from Ukraine is that they always preface the propagandists by saying Russian proxy, Russian asset, Russian propaganda channel said this. They never, here in America, they still continue to not say Russian spy or Russian asset said this. So people's heads are always continually mind fucked. And by the way, we swear on this show, so feel free to swear if you need to.
Oh, nice.
But when you grow up with that, how do you protect yourself psychologically? How do people of Ukraine deal with the propaganda, and how do you still try to find some compassion in your heart for the Russians who grew up with it? I've seen in some of your tweets you don't feel that way anymore. I understand your anger, but how do you can you talk about that? Because in America it's new and we are all fucked up over it, all of us.
Look, you need to understand one very important thing. Such countries as Russia and people like most of the Russians, they are using your values like a freedom of speech as your weakness. And in some strange way, to protect your freedom of speech, you need to find a position when you need to not give a freedom of speech to some other people who are using it as a weapon. And Russians who don't have freedom of speech at all in their country. So look what's going on. Russia is a country who don't have a freedom of speech at all, and who blaming other countries like Great Britain, United States, and Europe that they're ruining the freedom of speech by not giving Russia today possibility to spare their lies around. So this is what you need to know about freedom of speech. It's really, really important. And this is like what I can give you an example of how I see Russia and their propaganda way of thinking. Imagine you're in a bar, yeah, and you have a nice time with your friends and you just having fun. And there is always a guy in the bar who is just staring at you. And he already want to fight with you. And everybody know it, you know, and you can pretend he's not there. You can pretend like you're avoiding him, la, la, la. But there is only two ways to solve this question. Or you ending your beautiful evening with friends and just leaving, which will be smart if you are able to do that. Or you need to fight this bully. There is only one chance to do it. And with Russia propaganda channels, you need to make them forbidden. It's lie. It's just lies. They're ruining the world. According to Aristotle, when you're saying lie, you're creating world which doesn't exist, and you put people into world which doesn't exist. So in one moment we'll realize that it was not true. They need to build their world from scratch. And that's why Dante put traitors in the worst place of hell, because they are creating a world which doesn't exist and force people to live in a world which doesn't exist. So in Ukraine, it's not a matter of TV unless it's centuries of history lies. And I just from young years I read a lot of books. Like I obsessed reader. I read a lot of historical books, and when you have a lot of information in your head, you can compare. You can compare, and you can see that, like, wait a minute, why is like that and it's like that, and they're saying it's like it's totally opposite thing. And it started, I think, in 2008 when they really start a huge wave of propaganda. But earlier in 90s, what they was doing, for example, radio. We have a beautiful way of really nice musicians in early 90s. And what Russia did, they just bring a lot of money, give us to our radio stations to play Russian music only. And from those moments, it was impossible to show up on Ukrainian radio because you're talented. No, you need to bring money, and Russia have a lot of money. Or, for example, even in 2019, it was cheaper to buy a Russian children book in Ukraine than in Russia. Can you imagine that? So they make kids' book cheaper in Ukraine than at home where they produced. What is that?
Loss leader. Question.
It's
in
war.
America,
War
in America, they chanted about Hillary Clinton, lock her up. Did Paul Manafort, Yanukovych chant, lock her up, about Yulia Tymoshenko?
Yulia Tymoshenko, I even forgot that she exists. Yeah, but you know, Yulia Tymoshenko also a criminal. So that's why nobody, no, what they put her in the prison for political reason, and it wasn't right. Those judge was totally corrupt, and people realize it. And actually we have things, we have thought that there will be a revolution because those unfair judges against her. But to be honest, she also a criminal, and that's why nobody really was sympathetic to her, because she made her
criminals on both sides.
Yeah.
Well,
interesting.
But what's interesting about that for us is that because Paul Manafort was working for the Trump campaign for free, and because he had all of those nefarious ties to, the pro-Putin elements in Ukraine, they recycled catchphrases here that were weaponized to kill. The killing of our democracy continues because of people like him. And we have always looked to Ukraine on this show as the test run and the dry run before what's happened here. So everything that you have been fighting for and experiencing, we are seeing coming here. And again, it goes back to the statement I said originally. We are so grateful to your country. And when I read Zelensky's speech, the translation a few weeks ago, it was like a toxic breakup speech. Like, we would rather die than succumb to you. And I found it incredibly powerful and related so much. And it sounds to me like that's where you guys are at. You are going to fight this until there's a resolution, and there will be no appeasement, which I also appreciate.
Yes, it's exactly what will happen, 100%. And after that, the most interesting part in which type of world we will live, because even from here, I see a huge danger of civil war or any kind of conflict in United States. And you are not imagine how huge are anti-US propaganda and anti-Euro propaganda in Russia.
Yeah.
I telling it to all my speaking English speaker and friend. I tell them, look, everybody who support Russia in the United States, if they will be able to read and listen to Russian for one day, 24 hours, and they will go to their social media, I can't see any other way they will still support Russia after they will read what they wrote about United States, your culture, your history, all of you. No, it's humiliating. They think they're like kind of special people, and they easily can talk about, oh, we should nuke United States. United States will disappear and all of those people will die. How do you like that? How do you like that? And it's a nation problem. It's not Putin who like wrote in. No, it's their feelings in comments. They are going through it. And of course it's made up. They made their own people hate you. They forgot that in the 80s, George Bush, the elder one, was sending food to Russia.
Yep.
They don't have what to eat. Ukraine was sending food to Moscow in 94 because they was starving in 94.
Wow.
And now they're special human who will tell to a world which new world orders they want to see around. Guys, it's very scary. It's very scary what they're talking about you.
Yes,
it's very scary.
We've got people here who are big fans of Alexander Dugin, right? who just openly talk about, you know, Dugin as if he's some kind of legitimate philosopher instead of a genocidal Nazi, literally a genocidal Nazi who has openly said he wants to murder millions of Ukrainians. And we've got people here fucking cannot figure out what he really is. And you know, it's people like, it's things like that that launder these ideas, that launder this white nationalist you know, poison that, you know, infected Ukraine, infected the United States, and largely comes from Putin and Dugin and these people that, in my opinion, are the ones who want to create the Fourth Reich, who want to model what Hitler did. And you know, it's very, very upsetting to me, and I'm sorry for the monologue here, but to hear it, hear the effect it has directly on you.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say that to the people watching. This is why we're so frantic, because of stories like this.
That's right. That's right. When you talk about shaping reality or misshaping reality, that is what's happening here. It is that, and also you talk about reading books. We have people who do not read books anymore and have not read books in a long time. So they get their reality from propaganda channels and people like, you know, Jim has been laser focused on a general here named Mike Flynn, who has been misshaping people's reality for years now, along with people like Steve Bannon, who's misshaping people's realities. And I think that is how we are going to frame it right now. They are telling people about a reality that does not fucking exist, and they're breathing life into it with every single microphone they have. So thank you very much for giving us that framework. It's going to help us do a better job at you know, spreading truth.
Thank you guys for your work. It's important. I really appreciate you giving me the space and time to talk with your audience.
Before we let you go, what can we do to help you? What is the best way to help you? We have very generous viewers.
I always repeating that if you're still watching such kind of spaces and shows about Ukraine, you're already doing a lot, because the main thing we can do in a common circle of information and just realized what's going on. And I really think, and you believe me, in Ukraine we see that. We really see that the world is watching, and it's super important. Just leave comments. So if you're following some Ukrainians in social media, leave comments. Just keep doing it. It's very important. It's we see that nobody missing that. We really, 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 really highly appreciate what's going on, and I think it's already. And I think what is really important that all of you will stay healthy and in a good mood, because really hard days and maybe years are coming. And if you wouldn't be able to just keep in normal mental state, you wouldn't be able to support us or even like to follow what's happening in Ukraine. So please stay sharp, smile, and call to loved ones, tell them you love them, or apologize in front of them if you have for something to do. And this is how you will help Ukraine as well.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Till we
Yeah.
meet again on the other side of this.
Of course, of
Okay.
course. There will be a huge international party
Okay.
after we will beat the shit out of these assholes. You are all invited. All who hear this, we will have a like very cool party. Kyiv is a
Slava
beautiful
Ukrainian, man.
town. I hope we will do it in May. May is just a beautiful time to visit.
Sounds good.
Wow.
That sounds good.
Okay, so let's make it an appointment.
Okay. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
Thank you. You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you so
anytime.
much.
Well, guys, we say it every week. That was like the greatest interview ever. This show's legacy is amazing, amazing, and we just added something profoundly beautiful. And wow, why don't we just let some Ukrainian soldiers doing a victory dance take us out?